Hello everyone, welcome back. This is a 3-part series on how to knit a flat circle. This is the second episode, which we will focus on knitting a concentric circle. There is also a free downloadable Excel spreadsheet for you to play around with. The spreadsheet has tabs for all 3 versions of the circle from episode 1, 2 and 3. Instructions for downloading the spreadsheet are at the end of the video. Please use the chapter timestamps to jump back and forth. If you've already watched the intro in one of the other videos, feel free to skip ahead straight to the concentric circle section. In this video series, I'll focus on the theory behind proven method for knitting a flat circle and show how they work using examples and animations. So let's get started. There are many ways to knit a flat circle, but as a general rule, most knitted circles increase by 8 stitches every other round. And that's the baseline, but how and where you place those increases makes a huge difference to the final look of the fabric. When knitting in a round to create a circle, you need to add stitches to increase the circumference and allow the circle to grow outward. To keep the fabric flat, you need to add stitches regularly. Too few increases, the fabric curls into a ball, and too many increases, the edge ripples. Increasing 8 stitches every other round is the sweet spot for most knitted circles. It neither curls or ripples. In this video, all the circles will start with casting on 8 stitches. Thicker cast-ons, such as the crochet cast-on or cable cast-on, tend to create a bulky center which can look untidy. For this reason, I always use magic ring cast-on. There is a separate video explaining how to work the magic ring cast-on, so please do check that out if you'd like a step-by-step demonstration. When we use the concentric increase method, the result looks a bit like ripples in water. Again, we'll start with 8 stitches in the center using magic ring cast-on. In a standard concentric method, we work knit 1, yarn over on each increase round, doubling the stitch count every time. Because you're not gradually increasing 8 stitches every other round, the increase rounds are spaced so that the total stitch count matches what you would have if you were increasing 8 stitches every other round. So on round 1, we work knit 1, yarn over, and repeat all the way to the end of the round. And this doubles the stitch count from 8 to 16. The next increase would double from 16 to 32. So if you look at this table, the 32 stitches fall on round 5. So we knit plain round until we reach round 5. On round 5, we work knit 1, yarn over all the way to the end, doubling 16 to 32 stitches. If we double 32, it'll be 64. So we will knit plain rounds until round 13, and so on and so forth. You'll notice that the number of plain rounds between increase rounds get larger each time. For example, the next increase round after round 13 would be at round 29. And that's because as the circle grows, the circumference increases and the fabric needs more space before the next expansion. Sometimes you may want a more regular rhythm, especially if you don't want to knit all the way to round 29 or beyond. And that's completely possible. You just need to tweak the spacing of the increases. So this one is a good example. I worked up to 64 stitches, but I wanted to end in 80 stitches so that we can compare with other circles. Looking at the table, and if we were to increase every other round 8 stitches, the 80 stitches would be on round 17. So on the 17th round, I increased from 64 to 80, which is an additional 16 stitches. So I increased every 4 stitches so that I could get to 80 stitches on round 17. So you can tweak the intervals as you like, as long as you reach to what roughly the number of stitches should be if you were to increase 8 stitches on every other round. So for example, instead of always working knit 1 yarn over, we gradually increase the number of stitches between the yarn overs. So if you go to the alternative concentric circle tab in the Excel spreadsheet, you can see that on round 1, we work knit 1, yarn over and repeat 8 times as before. And this increases the stitch count from 8 to 16. On round 2 to 4, you knit plain knitting. And then on round 5, we work knit 1 and yarn over all the way to the end, increasing 16 to 32. Then on round 6 to 8, we work plain knitting. On round 9, instead of knit 1 yarn over, we work knit 2 yarn over all the way to the end, increasing 32 to 48. And then on round 10 to 14, we knit the plain rounds. And then on round 15, we work knit 2 yarn over all the way to the end, increasing 48 to 72. So to have a concentric circle effect, you can modify the intervals between the increase round. So the result is a method that sits somewhere between a swirl and the standard concentric circle, and giving a softer and more controlled expansion. To summarize, the concentric circle method gives you a lovely ripple effect in a fabric. You can tweak the increase intervals by looking at the stitch numbers you would have if you were increasing 8 stitches every other round, and then adjusting from there. Once you're familiar with the concentric circle method, you can create some really beautiful and interesting patterns. To download the spreadsheet, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, then follow the link in the description. I hope you found this video useful, and thank you so much for watching, and as always, happy knitting!